Hey party people, Jay here with Carpe Pluma. Going to be talking to you today about the Pilot Metropolitan. I've got a couple versions here. I've got the plain black, I've got the retro pop purple. We're going to be spending a little bit of time with both, so let's get into it. Here are 5 things you may not know about the Pilot Metropolitan. Number 1. The company has its origins in 1915 when Ryosuke Namiki quit his job as a college professor to found a small factory manufacturing gold pen nibs. He was joined in business in 1918 by Masao Wada, and together they formed the Namiki Manufacturing Corporation. They chose as the trade name Pilot. In 1938, they changed their name from Namiki to the Pilot Fountain Pen Corporation, and then in 1988, they finally took the name they have today, Pilot Corporation. Number 2. One cool thing about this pen is that, unlike other pens in this price range, this pen comes with its own converter. Now, it is a proprietary converter, which means you can't use this converter in other pens, and you can't use other converters in this pens. It would have to be a Pilot converter, either a Con 20 or a Con 50, but like I said, this comes with a converter, so you don't need to get yourself a new converter. Now, the converter that comes with this pen does have a little bit of, I don't know if you'd say controversy, but there are some doubts around it for some people. The reason for this is because this converter is sold with the Pilot Parallel as a cleaning converter. Now, the reason for that is not because this is some sort of substandard product that doesn't work well as an ink reservoir. It's simply the fact that the converter does not fit snugly into the Pilot Parallel's nib unit, so it wouldn't create a good seal and you'd get some leaking. However, if I stick it in the nib unit of the Pilot Metropolitan, you can see that it is a nice snug fit. It's not going anywhere. I've used mine plenty. It doesn't leak. There's no reason really not to use this converter. The only downside really is that you cannot see into it. So if you like to make sure your pen is absolutely full when you're filling your ink, you just got to give it a couple squeezes, a couple tries, and hope you get it there. And you can't see in there to see how much ink is left. You don't know until your pen is dry, etc. But it is a free converter in a relatively, a very inexpensive pen. Now, as for the converter, as you can see, it's not your typical piston filling converter. It's known as an aerometric or squeeze converter. And basically how it works is that there is a black rubber bladder on the back that is on the top and bottom, has a set of tongs that sort of go around it. And as you squeeze those tongs, the black rubber bladder is compressed, and then as you release the tongs, it creates a vacuum and sucks the ink up into the converter. Now, I don't love that this is a proprietary converter, but in terms of being a functional converter, it is absolutely functional. Don't think of it as a cleaning converter. Think of it as a free converter for your Pilot Metro. Number 3. The nib used on the Pilot Metropolitan is very similar to the nibs used on the Pilot Prera and the Pilot Plumix. So similar, in fact, that you can actually swap the nibs out, one for the other, and have some variation in your pen if you would like some different nib sizes. Now, if you're not familiar with messing with nibs, switching them out, you can check out this video right here. This is not my video. This is a video from Goulet. They put out great videos. You should check them out. Don't worry, I won't be jealous. I understand. Now, as for this nib, it runs a little bit on the fine side, being a Japanese nib, but for this price range, it is a very, very good nib, very smooth, very functional, and all steel nib, of course, but solid nib for the price range. Number 4, what's in a name? Well, apparently not much with this pen, seeing as the name Metropolitan is only used in the US market. In Europe, this pen is known as the Pilot MR. In Japan, it's known as the Pilot Cocoon, and in China, it is known as the Pilot 88G. Number 5. Another kind of cool thing about this pen and this nib is that it actually has the date of manufacture stamped on it. I believe that Pilot must do this for quality control purposes so that if pens start coming back to the factory, they can pinpoint the problem, get it fixed. This suggests what I have found to be true generally, that Pilot is very serious about their quality control. I have not heard any stories about bad Pilot pens, about, scratchy nibs or misaligned tines, etc. If you're looking for a pen that is going to write very well out of the box, a Pilot pen is a good choice. And of course, the Pilot Metro is a very low price pen, so that is a good choice, makes it a good choice as well. Now, as for where the date is stamped on here, it's going to be down in this corner right here of the nib. I'll try to get it so that you can see it, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it visible. It's very hard to see. I can barely see it with the naked eye. I can just see that it's there. I can't really see what it says. I'd have to get out my loop. But this pen, for example, has 812 stamped on it, which means it was manufactured in August of 2012. Now it's time for the anatomy of a pen, where we take a look at the pen from top to bottom, from finial to end cap. So let's get going with the anatomy of a pen. All right, we're going to be taking a look at the matte black version just because it's a little bit more pleasing to my eye. If we start at the top, you can see that the pen does not have a finial. It just has a rounded black top and the same matte finish as the rest of the body of the pen, or rather most of the rest of the body of the pen. The clip is a little bit interesting. You can see on one side up here at the top it says Pilot, and on the other side it says Japan. We've also got some sort of racing stripes down here at the end of the clip. Nothing too fancy, but this is a relatively inexpensive pen, so you can't expect too terribly much bling. Now, as well as the Pilot Japan on the clip, we've got on the back of the pen written Pilot Japan, and then we're going to jump right to the nib for a moment because guess what? It says Pilot Japan. So, class, for a gold star, who can tell me where this pen was made? Oh, wait. If you said Japan, you get the gold star. Congratulations, get up with me. I will get that in the mail to you double quick. The clip is medium stiff, I would say. It disappears into the cap. No band going around. It does feel good and sturdy though, so there's no reason to believe it might pop off there. I'm sometimes nervous about clips of this style, but with Pilot and their quality control and the way this clip feels, it seems like it's going to be a good, sturdy workhorse of a clip. As we move down the pen, you can see there is a silver ring that goes around the body of the pen that gives way to a sort of break in the matte black finish. There is, I believe, a plastic coating over this, but it is metal underneath. The entire body of the pen is metal, so it's going to be a good, solid pen. That section of shiny acrylic over the metal gives way to more of the same matte black finish, tapering down in a cigar shape. And then, as you see, on the bottom of the pen, we have no real end cap, no finial down there, just a rounded off bottom. Now, as for the section, you can see that the section is a tapered cylinder that sort of flares out at the top. Some might call this an hourglass shape with the pinch very high. Call it what you want, you can see what it looks like. I do tend to like pens that have this sort of flared out top, as my hands can get a little bit sweaty sometimes, and this just keeps me, lets me keep a very good hold on the pen, less slippage. Now, one thing to keep in mind about this section is that, as you can see here where it gives way to the cylinder and then to the body of the pen, there's a fairly big jump from the section up to the body of the pen. So if you hold your pen very high, if you hold it up here on that jump, it's possible you could have some discomfort. You could develop a blister in a very long writing session. I don't know how sensitive you are to that type of thing, only you know, but something to maybe be aware of. Not an issue for me. I hold my pen pretty low, and that jump there doesn't come into play at all. The threads, or rather there aren't any threads, so the threads are not medium sharp or sharp, whatever, no threads at all. Just a snap-on cap. Feels good and secure though. If we take a look at the nib, you can see it says Pilot, and then there's an F for fine, and then Japan. And maybe you can see, as I said, that date stamped down in the corner, but it's very difficult to see. So if you see it, you've got good eyes, and apparently I'm doing a good job with my camera. As for the feed, nothing too special about the feed. Those sort of grooves cut into it are just decorative. They don't serve any purpose. Just a pretty standard feed, but it works just fine. It gets the ink to the nib the way it's supposed to. As for the guts of the pen, you can see inside we've got the proprietary Pilot converter. It is an aerometric squeeze converter, as I showed you before. And oh my goodness, what do we have here? Who can guess what it says on the converter? Pilot Japan. What do you know? So, in case you forgot, this pen is made by Pilot, and it comes from Japan. Apparently they're very proud of that, which is good. It speaks well of their quality control, but they definitely want you to know Pilot in Japan seems to be important. So let's take one last look at the pen as a whole. Actually, before I end this section, I want to give you a quick look at the Retro Pop. It's got all of the same features in terms of the Pilot Japan, same sort of nib, but you can see there's an obvious difference. Instead of just that shiny black acrylic, this has got a sort of a pattern. They call this the Retro Pop Purple. You can get all manner of patterns around here. You can get dots or lines or squiggles, or I think maybe there are even some animal patterns, but I'll let you do your research on that. Get on Amazon or on your favorite pen site or wherever you want to buy this pen, and check it out. They got lots of different colors and lots of different variation in this section here. All right, so one last look at the Retro Pop Purple, and we will call that finished with the anatomy of a pen. Right, next I'm going to be rating the pen on 3 categories: on looks, on feel, and on bang for your buck. If you're not familiar with my rating system and you want an explanation, you can click this link here. Not too complicated though, so no need to go running off. Let's get into it with looks. So what kind of a score do I give this pen? As you can see, it is definitely not a flashy pen. I think of this pen in terms of its looks sort of as just a pair of white cotton gym socks. Nothing flashy about them, not trying to show off. You put them on, you forget about them, they do what they're supposed to do, and that's that. That's kind of the looks of this pen. What this pen reminds me of is kind of when I was a kid, my dad was a scientist. He had a big office, and in his office there was a desk. On that desk was a cup, and in that cup were a bunch of pens. This is the type of pen I would imagine seeing in that cup, so just sort of an 80s era office pen. Now, the only real design element to speak of besides the little bit of engraving in the Pilot Japan, that traditional cigar shape, nothing fancy there, but there is this band in the middle. Now, to me, I don't know if I'm alone in this, I haven't heard other people say this, but to me this band, it just doesn't make much sense to me. It just doesn't aesthetically look pleasing to my eye. Now in the black version, you can ignore that pretty easily. As you can see, it just kind of blends in, no big deal. On the purple version, however, to me it just looks like someone took one of those, kids' Band-Aids that has a cool pattern on it, so the kid's happy and doesn't mind the fact that he scraped a knee or whatever, and just wrapped it around the pen. That's what that looks like to me. Like you should be able to just peel that off there and reveal more of that nice purple matte finish underneath. To me, this pen is actually a bit on the ugly side. I did actually ask for this pen as a gift because I enjoyed my other Pilot Metro. I thought I could look past the looks, but I just don't really like the looks of this pen. So when it comes to the purple or any of the colors with this sort of pattern here, we're going to get a Smurfette. We're going to get 1 out of 4 stars. That's the lowest ranking. Well, I guess I could give 0 out of 4 stars, but so far that's the lowest ranking I've given on looks. Just not really a fan of the looks of this pen. Most of the elements are boring, and the one element that is not boring does not appeal to me. Now the black, on the other hand, is not gaudy or is not unappealing or doesn't hurt my eyes. It's just a little bit boring to me. So I will give that an average score, 2 out of 4, a Wilma. Not going to wow anybody with this pen, but in terms of just being an unostentatious functional pen, the looks aren't why you buy this pen, or at least aren't why I buy this pen. I apologize if I've offended you. If you love the design of this pen, if you collect them and you've got them all, you don't need to tell me I'm an idiot. You can just agree to disagree, but this is my opinion, and that's it. So 1 out of 4 or 2 out of 4, a Smurfette or a Wilma on looks. All right, let's move on to feel. Now, the feel of this pen is pretty darn solid. It is a metal pen, so it's got a decent weight in the hand. It doesn't feel particularly substantial. It's not a heavy pen considering it's a metal pen. The section is a little on the narrow side up near the top, so that might not be good for some people. And we also have this jump from the section to the body. I'm inclined to give this either a Drake In My Feelings, 2 stars, or a James Brown, I Feel Good, 3 stars. So we'll probably call it a 2.5 in terms of feel. It gets the job done. You can write for a long time with it, but don't expect, well, what you can expect is a good nib. That's why this is going to get a 2.5 instead of a 2. The nib is going to be solid. It's going to be a good writer. You're going to have good quality control, good flow. Chances are you're not going to get hard start, skips, whatever. But in terms of the overall feel of this pen and writing with it, it feels like a tool. It's a utilitarian tool. It doesn't feel like you're using a work of art, to me at least. So we'll call it a 2.5 out of 4 stars, a Drake and half a James Brown, half an In My Feelings, or no, an In My Feelings with a half, and I Feel Good. All right, so 2.5 out of 4 on feel. Right, finally we have bang for the buck, and now that is where this pen really shines. I know that lovers of the Pilot Metro may be kind of bothered by the scores I've given it so far, so I'm pleased to say that in terms of bang for the buck, both the purple and the black are going to get the neutrino bomb, the full 4 out of 4 stars. This pen is priced between $15 and $20, which is just an amazing deal in terms of what you're getting for it. You know, there are no fancy features. It's a steel nib. But it does come with its own converter, and as I explained in the earlier section, the converter is very functional. It's a fine converter. There's no need to replace it or to worry about if it's going to work right or whatever. So considering you're getting a metal pen, you're getting the Pilot quality control, you're getting a good nib that is going to write well, you're getting a free converter, definitely going to be a 4 out of 4 stars neutrino bomb in terms of bang for your buck. Now, one thing that I should note is that this is not just my opinion. It seems that every list that you find online of, you know, the top 5 pens under $50, top 5 intro pens, top 5 pens for newbies, however you want to say it, this pen is invariably on the list. There are a couple others, like the Lamy Safari is usually on there, the Platinum Preppy is usually on there, but the Pilot Metro, I don't think I've ever seen such a list that did not include this pen. It is widely accepted as the introductory pen to get people started in fountain pens at a low price and a good quality. It's going to be low hassle, comes with a converter, all that stuff. I also give it this high score because honestly, I'm a little bit afraid that if I don't, there's going to be a cabal of ninjas coming to get me in my sleep. It seems like that is how strong the consensus is on this pen, that it would be dangerous to not give it a good score on the bang for the buck. So ninjas, don't come and get me. 4 out of 4 stars. I take back what I said about the looks and the feel. Well, no, I don't really. But still, I know how to fight, so be careful if you come for me. No, just kidding. I'm a lover, not a fighter. So, finally, should I buy this pen, yes or no? Should I Carpe Pluma? I say yes. Absolutely, Carpe Pluma seize the pen. This is a great pen. If you're just starting out in fountain pens, this is a great place to start. It'll give you an idea of what you like, what you don't like about it. You know, if you like the thin feel, if you like a fine nib, a medium nib, a broad nib, you're not going to break the bank getting 1 or 2 or 3 of these even to try out some different nib sizes. It is the type of pen that it is not going to break your heart if you lose it, and it's going to be very sturdy because it's metal. So I would say absolutely, Carpe Pluma seize the pen. All right, so that's going to be all for me, guys. I appreciate you tuning in. I would love it if you would like, comment, subscribe below. I'm going to get your writing sample double quick. Jay from Carpe Pluma signing off. Bye for now. Hey party people, Jay from Carpe Pluma back with your writing sample for the Pilot Metropolitan. Let's get into it. We have got the Pilot Metropolitan, matte black, plain. Not sure if that's exactly what they call it, but you can figure it out if you go search online which one this is. It's pretty self-explanatory. It's got a fine nib. The nib is steel. We are using Monteverde. Midnight Black ink. And we are writing on HP 32-pound laser jet premium choice paper. All right, so let's get a little bit of figure eight action here. You know, it's a very smooth pen. It's a steel nib, so it's a pretty stiff pen. Not much spring there. There is a little bit of feedback. It's not going to be buttery smooth. But remember, this is, you know, a $15 to $20 pen, depending on where you get it. How about a line thickness test? If we just put a regular line across here, and right next to it, put a little pressure down. You know, you can see there's a little bit of line variation there, but not very much. So if you like a flexi pen, you know, then get a pen with flex nib, not a regular steel nib like this. Good luck finding that in this price range, but you know, your mileage may vary, so see what you can do. How about a little bit of backwards writing? All right, this is feeling pretty darn good. I don't know how useful this is going to be because this is already a fine nib. And it looks like we're running out of ink here. All right, I don't know, you can see it was a little bit darker at the beginning than at the end. If I keep on going here, is this going to go dry on me? You know, it's not quite as good a backwards writer as, say, the Platinum 3776, but it is a competent backwards writer. I don't have a broad here to try out with the backwards writing, so I apologize for that, but it's a decent backwards writer, and if you don't have to write too much, if you just have to sign your name or whatever, it should be fine. How about a little cursive? The Quick Brown Fox jumps ... over the lazy dog. Cursive feels good, feels nice and flowy. As I said, a little bit of feedback, stiff nib, but a very good nib for the price range, and especially when you keep in mind that it's the same nib that comes, or essentially the same nib that comes on the Prera, and that you can take your Plumix nib and slot it in here. Very solid on the nib. How about a wetness test? 1 1000, 2 1000, 3 1000, 4 1000, 5 1000, 6 1000, 7 1000, 8 1000, 9 1000, 10 1000, 11 1000, 12 1000, 13 1000, 14 1000, 15 1000. All right, so I would say medium wet pen. Let's try an immediate one here. That didn't smear at all. What's going on with that? There we go. It looks like I got a little gunk in my nib. I don't know if that's a matter of the paper or if I was, it's acting up a little bit. I don't know what to say about that, but it looks like it's almost turned into, from a fine nib to sort of a medium felt tip nib, at least by Japanese standards, a medium. All right, now we're back to normal. I guess I just got a little piece of fuzz on my nib from my wetness test. All right, let's see if we just write Carpe Pluma. Yeah, definitely going to be some smearing there. It is a relatively wet ink. It's that Monteverde Midnight Black with ITF technology. So, Your mileage may vary depending on what ink you use, but I would say a medium wet pen. So we've got our pen, our ink, our paper, our figure eights, our line variation, our backwards writing, our cursive, and our wetness test. We're going to call that a writing sample. All right, guys, I appreciate you tuning in. Would love if you like, comment, subscribe below. I'm Jay from Carpe Pluma, signing off. All right, bye for now.